The Facebook funnel that is currently booking me around 80 appointments per month for financial advisors. Now, every lead vendor, guy on the agency side, person trying to sell you marketing to financial advisors will tell you the exact same thing. Facebook ads is how you grow, or at least some version of it. The problem though is that 90% of advisors who try it out will lose money and then you just quit right off the bat. And today I'm going to show you exactly why all the marketing efforts that you've tried in the past have absolutely failed and what the ones actually printing appointments are doing differently. So, who am I? And kind of proof behind why you should listen to me. Well, if you don't already know me, my name is Oliver. I run a boutique marketing firm called OG Media Marketing. We work exclusively with wealth managers, RIA firm owners, and annuity producers, especially between the 30 to $1 billion mark, trying to build the infrastructure to then blow past the next level. I want to make something exceptionally clear though. I myself am not a vendor and do not make these videos because I want to sell you some shit. I'm a growth operator and I believe in the fundamental principle that your marketing budget should build your brand and not a vendor's. I build custom funnels for a living and I take performance-based compensation on the upside that I bring. Currently work with over 13 firms and spending over $30,000 a month on Facebook ads. And after blowing past $60,000 in ad spend over the last 9 months and driven over $250 million, $250 million in pipeline AUM for my partners. In this video, I just want to transfer kind of the concepts behind what has worked, what has not worked, and what we've found actually prints appointments when you run something through an internet funnel. So, and this is something that we're doing actively. For example, Chris, he spent over $12,000 on ads. We booked him around 144 meetings, $88 a pop. He transferred over $8 million in assets and cash collected $100,000 year one. Here's Chris being very happy. This was in September, transferred $4 million then that time. First account was $900K. $12,000 in, 6 figures to bottom line every year. I mean, what? Yeah. And then this is one that decent off, limited ad spend, total AUM, around $2 billion. Right. Then we did this for Roger. We spent around $7,500 on ads for him, got 93 meetings, $5 million in assets. And again, 7.5K in, $50,000 a year recurring added. Now, note, this was across 2 clients. One of them was $2 million. The other one was $3 million. And we're unsatisfied with the attention from the other advisor. But here's the big kicker here, $800,000 of net income per year this first client has to work with. So it feels a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. Point is, whether you take something away from this video or not, I just want to kind of show you how we did this. And if it makes sense, you can choose to implement this in your business or not. So why do so many advisors try Facebook ads and then get burned? Well, it's not the platform. It's that the marketing people trying to build these funnels for you, the agencies, the freelancers, the vendors, right? Marketing experts don't understand how financial advisors actually sell. They don't understand the trust cycle. They don't understand the trust cycle. They don't understand the compliance restraints, and they don't understand the difference between a booked meeting and a qualified meeting. They build a generic funnel, run evergreen ads, right? Get tire kickers, and then tell you Facebook ads don't work. Well, the platform works. The approach is the problem. So today I'm going to walk you through everything that I've learned after 9 months of running these funnels with real money on the line, $60,000 of ad spend, what worked, what completely bombed, and the exact structure, offer, targeting creative that's producing $81 to $88 per qualified meeting right now. So let's get into it. When you run ads, there is 4 things that has to occur. Number 1, you need to get attention because fundamentally right now, nobody knows you exist. There's a reason why firms like JP Morgan, Chase, BlackRock even, but Edward Jones, these people are household names, and there's a reason why they have over Edward Jones, I think, has 300,000 advisors just alone, right? Reason why that is because they have a massive distribution chain to where if someone thinks of a financial advisor in their home, guess what names pop up? These big banks, right? And right now, you are probably not one of them. And that's fine, but to make money at a very base level, you need to make people aware of the fact that you exist. Now, currently, you probably do that through referrals. Maybe you host a seminar once in a while, right? Maybe you have some lead vendors and you're manually trying to call people up, making them aware of you. Whatever you're currently doing to get clients in some way, shape, or form, you have to make people aware of the fact that you exist, right? So how do we do this at scale? Well, we run ads on Facebook and Instagram. So see this essentially as digital flyers that are going out and you're shouting your name from the rooftops across the entire nation or the entire state if you're local, right? What we want to do in the ads, however, is not run generic Facebook ads that essentially is promoting retirement planning or portfolio management, because what happens when people hear those things? They just fly over the people's head. They will just fly over the prospect's head and you will sound like every single other financial advisor that is out there. Like, I cannot tell you how many advisor websites I visit, and every single one of them says that they're perfect retirement planning. They have 20 plus years of experience. They have a specialized team that does XYZ, right? Maybe they have a big bank. Maybe you feel like you're in this boat, right? The problem is, though, as a prospect, you look, sound all the same. So, how do we differentiate you when you are all shouting the same thing to the masses? Well, the ads on the front end, and what we've found works best, is to actually do pain-driven messaging. What do I mean by that? We do not want to run the ads talking about portfolio planning or retirement planning, because these just fly over people's head. What we want to talk about is the prospect's fear of running out of money in retirement, because they have been through the accumulation phase of their life, right? And no matter how rich you are, you have a run rate, and that run rate has to sustain in the distribution phase, right? A pain point is just like, what happens if I would live to 110? Will my nest egg last, right? Another one would be sequence of returns risk, right? What happens if the market takes a dip of 20% year one of your retirement and you're still withdrawing? Could be trouble, right? Or if you're talking to more sophisticated prospects, this would be maybe you're staring at the end of the, like maybe you just came off the New Year's and now you have April coming up, and you're just looking at a 6-7 figure tax bill and wondering, what the crap should I do with this, right? That will talk to more sophisticated audience, right? And maybe you have a CPA partnership there. Whatever you want to do, you want to make prospects aware of a problem that they didn't even think about that they had. That's what you want to do on the front end, because then you make them realize, yes, I am struggling with that problem. Maybe there's a solution to help me out. So that's what we want to do on the front end. Essentially, is make people aware of a problem that they don't know they have. That might be they have fees that are too high with their current advisor, if they're working with a big bank, for example, right? And there's hidden portfolio fees, whatever, that they aren't aware of, but you are. Sequence of returns risk, like I said, like distribution phase, making sure that the retirement money lasts, Roth conversions, RMDs coming up, and making sure you're not in the wrong tax bracket. There is social security things that you can talk about. You can talk about taxes, whatever it is on the front end, but something that you point out a problem for the prospect, and that is how you get the attention. From there, and this is kind of where most advisors absolutely screw up, and where I think the lead vendors are going horribly wrong. Most advisors just run ads on the funnel through a lead vendor or whatever, and then they get an opt-in and then try to get booked the call immediately. Well, what happens when you call that person up after you just opting in from an ad? They have absolutely no idea why they should listen to you. Absolutely no idea, right? Because now you're just calling them up from a random number that they don't recognize and trying to sell them something. And you can't really blame the prospect for being skeptical. And you don't want to be a sales rep either. So what we want to do after they click on the ad is run them through to a landing page with a video. And this is the second thing. You get the attention by just getting thousands of eyeballs with a pain-based messaging approach, making people problem aware. Then you have to make yourself the authority to solve that problem for them. And that's what you do with what's called a video sales letter. Now, how is this video sales letter structured? Well, it's essentially divided up into 3 different pieces. You take the core problem of whatever mistake or problem that we pointed out in the front end of the ads. Let's say it's their fear of running out of money in retirement, right? And we take a piece of that problem for them and we give them real actionable advice that they can use just immediately. And what this does is that this just positions you as this guy that gives value out for free. So we give them real actionable advice that they can use immediately to solve that problem that we just helped them identify. But the genius part is, while solving one problem for the prospect, we also naturally reveal that there's multiple underlying problems that also have to be solved. Like, for example, now you know that there's multiple hidden fees when you do your buying through these funds, right? This is how you solve it. But to tactically implement it for your portfolio, guess what happens? To actually implement the advice, they have to speak with you. You position yourself as that bridge. You just make them aware of the fact that the bridge exists. Because currently the prospect is over here. Currently the prospect is kind of over here. Let's use black here. They're just like unaware of the fact that they have a problem, right? From there, what you want to do is you want to scream from over here, right? Hey, there's a better thing over here. This is you, right? There's this better thing over here where you're not getting screwed over, and it will yield higher growth or lower fees or whatever. And you just scream this out, bam, you make them aware of the bridge, and that's what you do here. You position yourself as the authority to solve all of those problems for them in the video, right? By being here, by just giving them actionable advice, and you're like, hey, this guy actually knows what the fuck he's talking about, right? You position yourself as a trusted authority to solve the problem for them. And then as a call to action in the video, you essentially say, hey, book a call on my calendar, and I will help you out. And then this guy will book himself in. And then you make the sale on the back end. That's what you want to do. From there, though, And this again is kind of where most advisors screw up, and you just try to blame whatever, and fundamentally it's just a structural thing why things don't work out, is that they get tire kickers, they get people that are not, they get Susan with like 50K in assets. And if you run seminars, you have been through this, and to where people show up, they're just looking for the free filet mignon, right? They have $50,000 in assets because you have no qualification process. Like, it's an entire shit show. So now that you've positioned yourself as the authority to solve these problems for the prospect, you flip the frame, because now this guy's looking up to you, or this woman is looking up to you to solve the problem for them. So now they have to apply to work with you. And this flips the frame. And they have to tell us in their own words exactly what their problems are, right? And this comes down to the third piece, which is the assessment of things, qualification filters for serious budgets and serious buyers, right? This is then when the prospect will give us, in their own words, exactly how much assets they have to invest, 500K, $1 million, $5 million, whatever it is. And this is very important that this is liquid investable assets, excluding any real estate that you can actually work with, 401K, save, like everything. Liquid investable assets, what they have as far as, so say assets, right? They also have to give us their age, and they have to give us their income if they don't qualify for assets, for example, and maybe they're six figures but have a lower income or a high income. And they have to give us their goal, whether that be income, reduce taxes, right? Protect against inflation, whatever the goal is in retirement, and making sure the money lasts. But more importantly, why are they looking for help from you specifically, right? And because you've made them problem aware in the front end over here, this should be pretty self-evident at this point why they should apply to work with you. This puts them in the problem bucket themselves, and then what you can do is you can have a timeline thing, right? So how soon are you looking to shift for a financial advisor, or shift financial advisors, or get a financial advisor in place? And anyone that answers more than 3 months, we just completely cross out, right? We don't want to work with those people because they would just tire kickers that we just continue to get along. So we filter through timeline, and this is what goes down to and what Alex mostly says, right? Budget, assets, authority, if these are the people that will solve it. Need, we get here, their goal and their problem. So what is their need? What is the bridge that you would help them solve? And timing. So budget, authority, need, and timing. And in this case, we need people to that are willing to move assets in less than 3 months, because otherwise I would not want you to entertain that conversation. And only the people that qualify through the application will get through to a booking page, where they then make the appointment and book in the sales call. And that is then when the acquisition of the prospect happens. But, this is a big but, this is how you get the meetings, which is fun and all, right? And I'll probably make a completely different video about this. But what happens between the booking and the sales call? What happens between the booking and the sales call? Because whether you have a vendor right now, you have an agency that is doing this for you, you have something. Now this gets handed off. This is now marketing has done its piece over here. This is marketing. That's their responsibility. Now it will be up to you as the advisor to close that guy. So how do we position yourself? How do we position you as in the sales motion to the best of your ability to actually close these guys? So they book in, pick a time, whatever. It's Tuesday, and they booked that on Saturday. What happens in between this time? For 98% of people watching this, it is just complete silence, and the only things that are going out is reminders. That is that. Now, ask yourself this question as a sophisticated prospect yourself. Why the absolute snap should you prioritize this meeting? Because between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, guess what? This prospect now that is on your calendar, you have booked them in, we'll make him green just for the sake of it, right? This prospect that has booked him in on your calendar is currently, guess what? A buyer in the eyes of Facebook over here. So on Monday, or on Sunday and Monday, this guy will get absolutely blasted with 15,000 different ads of all other advisors trying to sell them the exact same thing, because Facebook has now identified that this guy is a buyer that's wants to buy financial service products, and all the other financial service providers that are doing marketing on Facebook will now get in their head, right? And then Tuesday comes around, and maybe they have booked 2 or 3 more meetings, right, with other people, with advisor A, B, and C, because they got blasted, right? And then that's when you get the objection of, hey, I'm talking to multiple people. So how do you position and solve this problem? Because you can get the booking, but you got to get a good prospect over here. What happens is you want to control the narrative to control the sale. So how do we do that? Well, in between the appointment and the sales call, you will have, number one, use the normal confirmation and reminder emails that are going out, but you also want to make show rate sequences that are going out. Now, what are these? It is essentially an email flow that breaks down how this is some sauce here. It's essentially an email flow. It's 12 different emails from the time of booking, post-booking, to the time of them actually showing up. It's 3 different emails, essentially introduction, right? 3 emails of introduction and explaining their problem. So essentially, hey, my name is John, so that they get like a bit of a personal relationship with you before the call happens. And what you can do here is you can just include a picture just like this, right? Is take a selfie or something, put that in the introduction email after they book in, give you the kind of elevator pitch on what you are, right? So they get that sense of, yeah, this, like, I'm not going to stand up with this guy because now I have a bit of connection to him. Introduction of who you are and explanation deep down of their problem so that they get the feeling that this guy actually understands my situation. From there, you want to have solution emails that are going out. Essentially just your mechanism of solving that problem for them and how we help them solve that problem for them. Is we want to make, and maybe you have like a 3-pillar pitch like this one. Like if you want more clients, right, as a financial advisor, that is your problem because if your calendar is empty right now, you have an attention problem. You have a marketing problem. That is the problem that you're sitting in if you're watching this video. You have a marketing problem if your calendar is just blank, right? Now, if I were to do this, my solution emails would be, right? It's broke. How you solve this is number one, by getting attention. Email number two is then this, and then email number three is then this, right? Qualification. That makes sense, Oliver. Cool. I'm actually bought in. Like I can see why your way of doing things makes sense. We want this in the prospect's mind as well. It's where we position your solution as the best one across all the different options that they're considering. From there, we want to have 3 different ones of like frequently asked questions. Essentially, like what do you charge, right? What do you charge? Fees, other service options, right? How long you've been in business. What if I already have an advisor? All those things. Do you work with my bank? Like frequently asked questions. Usually what you can do here is you can just take the sales calls that you have and just transcribe them and just get the most common frequently asked questions that you get on every single call and just put them in 3 emails that are going out. And what you can have, a structure of those emails is you can combat multiple ones. So email number 1 would be essentially Q1, right? Answer 1, and then Q2, and then Q3. So you can essentially get over like 9 different questions here. And this is also what happens. And if you go to something like this, right? You want to have this at the bottom of your page as well. How's this different from what my current advisor is doing, right? Is this just another annuity pitch? Is there cost for this? What if I'm already working? How long does it take? Do you work with clients from this stage? Whatever the frequently asked questions you get, this is what you want to do as the third piece. And then you want to have 3 emails, essentially is answering objections. And again, transcribe your sales calls, get the most common ones, and then script out your rebuttal to that one. For example, what if I'm talking to multiple advisors? What if I already have an advisor? All those things. And then you just smash those before the call. And guess what? Now this thing that we talked about previously of between the time people have booked on Saturday, you control the narrative on Sunday, Monday. Well, you control the narrative on Saturday evening because people doom scroll. You control the narrative here through your emails. You then control the narrative on Sunday. You then control the narrative on Monday, and then you control the narrative on Tuesday morning. And now, guess what? They are so much more aware of you, the problem that they have, why your solution is good to solve that problem for them, and they will actually prioritize the meeting that comes up on Tuesday, right? Now this goes one step further. Then the thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the first call that happens here is not an education call, because you front load all the education through linking back to your video, right? And you front load all the education with the emails that are going out. So the first call, they already know who you are and why you can help them. And then this call can essentially become a closing call. But in the sometimes what happens situation, right? You get the objection of I'm talking to multiple advisors, or let me think about it, or whatever you get, right? And you have to book the follow-up call. They're just not ready yet. Well, again, like lead vendors, and this is kind of why I operate as a growth operator. And if you want to work with me, by the way, I work on performance basis. There's a link in the description below, and that takes you to a page like this, right? That explains exactly how I work. And then if you want to work with me, then we can see if I can partner up and make some money on the upside of that I bring you. But what you want to have happen here, if people go to the follow-up stage and if people go to the follow-up stage and not close, you want to have these things, more emails. And I bet you my Swedish haircut that, like, I will go bald if you have this already in place, to the extent that I'm going to talk to you about. Because whether you have an agency, whether you have a vendor, whatever, they only control the marketing part. And like I said, the marketing portion is this. Like, they will get you meeting. Fine. And that will solve the 90% of people's problems. But if you actually want to scale this thing and build your brand while scaling up, you need just as big of an infrastructure on the back end. What happens after people book in the sales call. And that's when the first thing is their show up rate, make people show up. If they do show up and not close, you want to have, there's essentially only 3 or 4 different objections usually that people get or give you, whether that be considering other options, right? We can have that here. other options, and there is the fees, or there's some like think about it, whatever it is. You want to have multiple different email flows that are designed to combat that specific objection. So for example, if he says on the call, right up here, that, hey, I'm talking to multiple people, this guy, right? Yeah, they just gave you a hard time on a call, and I'm talking to multiple people. Well, you just put that in here, right? You fill out a form, and then that should automatically trigger the I'm talking to multiple people email sequence. And again, that's like a 14-day thing. So essentially just going deep down into multiple more of these things. Emails, frequently asked questions, but more importantly, solution emails, why you are better than all the other options that they might be considering, right? What's your track record? What's your social proof? What are all the credibility statements and value sequences that are going out as far as like blog sharing value and blog posts, being the guy in their head while they are talking to multiple other advisors, and you have these continuous checkpoints throughout the time where you're just building up goodwill, right? You're just building out goodwill. And then when your follow-up call happens, right? And they spoke to all these other people, you've had essentially 10 different manufactured touch points in between those places. And this guy just feels like, yeah, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And it makes sense what he's talking, like the solution that he's proposing, how he's different actually makes sense, because these other guys just give me an annuity pitch and I want a full stack advisor with CPA back office, whatever you have, whatever your unique way of doing things is, to position you as a solution over time. And then at the end, he hops on, hey, I'm ready to make a decision, right? So you want to have a sales motion in place after they book a call and after the follow-up. Pre-call emails, show rate sequences, objection handling emails like I talked about. And if they don't close then, right, you want to put them into like 120-day long-term nurture sequence where they're just getting, again, just continuous value. You've been building brand goodwill over time in these essentially automated follow-ups where you're just sharing a bunch of useful information to when they're then ready to make a decision 6 months or 5 months down the line, you are the guy that they come to, because all the 6 guys previously that they talked to, right? They probably gave the same objection, FYI. But those 6 guys, they don't even remember speaking to them. But since you've been in their inbox and in their SMS for 6 months consecutively, is providing a lot of goodwill, guess who's the guy that they call up? Well, it's you, right? And this is how you just maximize the close rate on the back end. Even though, like, you want to maximize the fact that this one is not an education call, but it's an actual sales call. You'll close around 20% of people there, hopefully. Even 10%, the money makes sense, right? On this call, people that book follow-up, right? You want to convert an extra 10% over time through your follow-ups, objection handling sequences, long-term nurture sequences, etc. And that, when you're booking and spending money on ads, whether you're currently doing that or not. One case, like one annuity case, well, if you're booking 20 appointments a month, that's 2 new clients, because you just don't have this back-end thing figured out. Like, it's insane, and people are leaving so much money on the table. Holy snap, this is messy. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of an understanding of, like, marketing is an ecosystem, and it's not just one piece. And this is exactly what I build, because I want your marketing budget to go to you. Like, whether you work with a vendor or not, currently you're just renting whatever system you have, and I want to make you exceptionally aware of that. You're just renting your system. And if you were to ever sell the practice, by the way, people see that as a big downside. What you want to have is you want to build your own marketing engine that is full stack, and there's a closed loop system throughout the entire thing. Because once you have that asset, it is yours forever. And that is something that you can take away with you. And then every single dollar that you put into marketing spend actually just builds your ecosystem even further. You build your own data. You don't just plow ad spend or marketing spend to run the ads on behalf of a lead vendor, right? You're essentially paying to build their ecosystem, and then you get a proportional kickback as far as this thing goes. You get the appointment, maybe. That's cheap for them to get. Well, you can just take everything yourself. I make money after I make strangers aware of you and they buy. Super duper simple. But this is it. You need 4 A's. You need to get attention. You need to position you need to get attention and essentially position yourself as make people aware of problems that they don't already know they have. Or you just call out the problem. You get the attention. Then you want to make yourself the authority to solve that problem for them in the video. You want to drive thousands of eyeballs through this thing. A portion of them will go to the video and just learn about your methodology, see that it actually makes sense. Then these people will self-qualify through an assessment so that you don't have to spend time with tire kickers, right? Or people that are just shopping around. From there, after the assessment has happened, like, you want to just get the rich folks on a Zoom appointment, right? So they'll book a call, and then when that sales call happens, there's a bunch of things going on the back end with emails. Once that sales call happens, you just close them. This is marketing. It should be a different color, right? This right here is marketing. And then this right here, sales. And those are 2 very, very different like mechanisms. And there's a bunch of sub things that go on like underneath it. But if you are currently struggling with getting people, like you have an empty calendar right now, then fundamentally run ads that target people and say something about the problems that I just told you because they work. And if you want to work with me, there's a button below this video. Again, there's a link rather. We're currently doing this with 13 firms, over $4.8 billion in assets, booking around 80 appointments per month, scaling. So this will change as we go along, and have driven over $250 million in pipeline. I will probably make a video around each one of these steps as well, because obviously there's multiple steps that go on the meta ad side. There's multiple steps that go on the video sales letter side, multiple steps and kind of like how do you make a good VSL, how do you structure the page for maximum conversion, right? How do you structure the page for maximum conversion? What do you script in the video? Everything like that. If you want those videos, just kind of shoot a comment down below in this video and I'll do deep dives on all those as well. How do you position the booking page? What are some best practices there? And for example, you want to pre-fill their information to limit the friction based on the assessment. And then what is a good sales process? I already touched upon it in this video with the pre-call emails, etc., but that'll be a separate video. If you want to work with me, link below. But hopefully this should shed some light on the fact that you probably aren't doing enough marketing, or you're doing marketing in a very, very inefficient manner where you are just renting another system. You want to build your own ecosystem. Cool, go crush it, make money, get more AUM, and then I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.